Hello, my name is Vincent Chor, and today I'm talking about the historic use of cannabis in China and Egypt. In the United States, more and more states recently have started to legalize the use of cannabis. Cannabis refers to the dried leaves, flowers, stems, and seeds of the cannabis plant and is commonly used today as a recreational drug. Cannabis contains chemicals called cannabinoids, which are what causes the psychoactive effects one may feel throughout their body. Other names one may hear that refers to cannabis include marijuana, pot, dope, weed, Mary Jane, and more. The earliest use of cannabis is traced back to ancient China. The oldest artifact found that highlight cannabis being used for medical purposes is called the Shen Nong Ben Chao Jing, which is said to have originated from the Emperor Chen Nong in about 2737 BCE. Was passed down by word until it was assembled around 221 BCE. One classical medicinal recipe from ancient China that included using cannabis was called Ma Fei San. Huao Tuo would use this medicinal recipe for anesthesia in 207 AD, which shows the appreciation of the therapeutic properties of cannabis in ancient civilizations. Recently, in June of 2019, there were findings of several wooden pots known as braziers that were then excavated from tombs in western China. This evidence suggests, according to science advances, smoking cannabis for ritual activities took place in western China at least 2,500 years ago. There are also things cannabis was used for outside of medicinal purposes in ancient China. Ancient texts show that cannabis was used for female inflorescence. Recent archaeological artifacts found in the central Chinese regions provide a lot of evidence of hemp fiber and little evidence of drug cannabis. This suggests to researchers that the historical divergence of fiber and drug cannabis occurred early in Chinese history. Another country that has historic roots to cannabis is Egypt. Lise Manichi is the author of the book An Ancient Egyptian Herbal. Manichi spent a lot of her life studying and researching ancient Egyptian art, music, sexual life, and ancient Egyptian culture overall. In her book, Manichi mentions how different medicinal plants were used in ancient Egypt, one medicinal plant being cannabis. Manichi provides detail about how cannabis was used for treating injuries and sickness, as well as the significance of cannabis in Egyptian society. Back in the 1990s, scientists and researchers discovered traces of cannabis in the remains of mummies that are believed to have been buried around 950 BC. Furthermore, cannabis pollen was discovered on the remains of Ramses the Great, who was a pharaoh in 1213 BC. This specific discovery was made in the mortuary temple of Hatshepsut at Deir el-Bahari. One of the mummies found in the 1990s showed to have high THC concentration in its lungs, suggesting Egyptian culture knew they could smoke cannabis. One important takeaway I find from these findings has to do with cannabis being found in the tomb of an ancient pharaoh. I believe this shows that at least the upper class individuals of ancient Egypt used cannabis, while it is still unclear if lower class individuals used cannabis or not.